and welcome to the Cheer Up Podcast. I'm the host, Kara Hunt, and with me today is the phenomenal speaker, author, and awesome prayer warrior, Sherry Swalwell. Are you excited about today's topic, Sherry?
I sure am, Kara. I love talking about, I think I said this last week, but I can never say it too much. Coffee, Jesus, friends, books. Like, seriously. It doesn't get much
right?
Maybe husbands, chocolate, babies, there's a few other things, pets, animals, but today is going to be so exciting. Like, I am so thrilled, and I am so glad that this month we are focusing on your picks of your favorite books or some of your favorite books, because that got me reading new authors that I hadn't read before. And these, the two that we're going to talk about today, I had never read before, but I am so glad that you brought them into our conversation today. I'm so glad that they're joining us on the podcast today by way of their books, because they are phenomenal. They're awesome. So, yes, I'm so excited. I cannot wait.
I know, and I am so excited. And for those of us who may just be tuning in, for the past couple of episodes, we have just been talking about summer reads, great books to read during the summer. So we're just it's just like a summer reads series. And we were just, in the previous episodes, we talked about some of the books that Sherry has authored and where to get them and where to find them. So please be sure to go back to some of the previous episodes, and you can find out all about how she became an author, why she's an author, and a lot about the books that Christian fiction books that she writes. And that's what we're going to continue today, is our love of Christian fiction, our love of Christian fiction books. And in this particular episode, we're going to continue with, another one of my favorites. In the previous episode, we talked about Redeeming Love, which was a contemporary novel based on the story of Hosea and Gomer in the Bible. And love, true love, how to find that one true love that is the best out of all loves. And so it is a very, very good Christian book by author Francine Rivers. But again, if you really want to hear more in depth about it, and Sherry and I discuss it, it is in the previous podcast. So please be sure to check that out. Also, we just wanted to thank everyone for all the love and comments and feedback we've been getting on social media and whatnot about, how you guys love the podcast, or about how it means, so much to you, or how you're just enjoying it. And so we just want to kind of give a shout out, so to speak, to all of those. So thank you so much, all of those out there who share the tweets and create memes and talk about and share how much that they really love and enjoy listening to the Cheer Up podcast. Also, for those who are new, or you want to share the Cheer Up podcast with friends and family, we are now on Apple Podcasts. We're on iTunes. We're on Spotify. We are also on iHeart and numerous other podcast places where they play podcasts. So chances are we're on Amazon Music, I believe, because they do podcasts, and a host of others. Castbox too, I believe. So just type in Cheer Up Podcast, and please, please, please subscribe. And we would also love it if you was to just give us a quick review. We would just really, really appreciate that. So again, so if you're really enjoying the podcast, just continue to share the love of us on social media and whatnot. Comment and subscribe and share it with your friends and family. We greatly would appreciate that. Also, we have a Cheer Up Podcast Facebook group. It's a public group. Anyone can join it. Just send us a request that you'd like to be a part of it. And on there, you can just kind of keep up to date with what's going on, with the Cheer Up Podcast, with Sherry and I, and, and different things like that. So, again, just type in Cheer Up Podcast if you're on Facebook, and send us a request to join the group, and we look forward to having fun with you there. But again, today we are going to continue the series on Christian fiction. And again, just a quick recap of what Christian fiction is. And it's basically just novels and books by different authors that happen to weave, but intentionally weave the Christian faith journey, God, Christ, throughout their storyline. And so that's basically what Christian fiction is. Again, if you like whatever your genre is that you love to read, whether it's romance, whether it's historical, whether it's contemporary, whether it's political, intrigue, or it's mystery, suspense, thriller, Christian fiction has it all. If you would like to know, just see all of the different categories of different books, different categories of different genres available, ChristianBook.com is a great place to start. Just look for Christian fiction, and they have it all broken down there for you, and as well as some of the different authors under those particular ones. So whatever you like to read, there is a Christian fiction novel and or author that's out there that has probably written books that you like to read. So with that being said, I also want to mention some more of my favorite authors that I have read in the past. We're not going to be able to feature all of their books necessarily on the podcast this season, but there are just a few that I want to mention again before we start with this particular book in the series. Another one is Robin Carroll. She writes more like mystery, suspense, thriller type books. Again, these are all Christian fiction authors and that I'm mentioning. So she's another one that you may want to look up, Robin, and her last name is Carroll. That's with 2 R's and 2 L's. Another one, oh my goodness, I can't say enough about Brandi Lynn Collins. I'm one of those that really like to read a lot of mystery, suspense type things, and she's very good at writing them. And she's another best-selling author. Her and Robin Carroll both are best-selling authors in that genre. And again, her name is Brandi Lynn Collins. Brandi Lynn is Brandilyn. Last name Collins. Another one of my favorites is Kim Cash Tate. She is another one of my favorite authors, and she's one of those that dabbles in both, kind of like Sherry, where they write fiction and nonfiction. Nonfiction-wise, she has a series out called Cling that's talking about clinging to Jesus. It is a wonderful, wonderful series. As a matter of fact, if you look Kim Cash Tate up on YouTube, she actually has a, what do they call that? I want to say movie. It's not like a movie. It's like a webisode. Do they call them webisodes? All about Cling. And, she was able to get some producing done and some things done, and it just really goes into clinging to Jesus in the midst of just like turbulent things happening in your life. I cannot recommend that enough. But it's like little 20, 25-minute snippets, and it's with actors, you have actors, you have music that she's written. I mean, she does the whole thing. She writes some of the music to it. She has actors, and now there's some of her friends and everything else, but it's really good quality. That's what I want to put out there. It's not like me and getting a group of friends together in my garage. We're going to make a webisode. No, it's professionally done, and it has. She also has a CD that goes along with it because she also writes the music with it and everything else. I can't recommend the Cling series enough. But again, that goes along with her nonfictional work. But she also has very good fictional work out there as well. So, again, her name is Kim Cash Tate. Her name is spelled exactly like it sounds, Kim, Kim, maiden name Cash, Cash, and her last name Tate, Tate. Another one is Dee Henderson. If you love military thrillers, intrigue, military hero guys, books written from like a guy's point of view, and a little bit of romance thrown in there, Army, Navy, Air Force type things, then Dee Henderson is definitely one of the authors that you really want to read. Chris Fabry. He is like one of my top 5 authors. I just can't say enough about Chris Fabry. His last name is spelled Fabry. Chris is spelled with a C. And he is another one of my favorite authors. One of the books I want to recommend by him, if you guys want to start with one of his books, because he has several out there, is June Book. Oh, my goodness. One of the most cutest, enduring, page-turning books that you would ever read. That one, and I think the other one is Almost Home. But, yes, I would probably start with June Book, and you'll fall in love with Chris Fabry. Ginger Garrett is another one. Her last name is spelled Garrett. First name is Ginger. And, of course, a lot of you probably already heard about Jerry B. Jenkins. He's one of the co-authors of the Left Behind series. All of those books I highly recommend. Roni Kindig is another one that writes like books regarding male protagonists and Navy, Army, Marines, Air Force, National Guard, those type of heroes and those type of point of views, and just a lot of the things that they encounter. And I just call it military suspense, romantic suspense. Let me put it that way, military romantic suspense. So, and she writes a lot of good books regarding in that genre. Tosca Lee is another one. I never quite know how to pronounce her name, whether it's Tosca or Tosca. But her first name is spelled Tosca Lee. She is another one. She's a great, great, great author. As a matter of fact, I think she has a actual television series out on one of her latest books. Tosca Lee. And another one today, which we're going to talk about, is Tamara Leigh. Tamara Leigh, Tamara Lee, Leigh. And so she is another one of my favorite authors. She happens to dabble in several different genres, because I think she writes sometimes some speculative, some fantasy, some lighthearted, sweet romance comedy, which is like one of the ones we're going to talk about today, or whatnot. But one of the ones, and it definitely is one of my favorite lists, and it is a lighthearted comedy called Faking Grace. And I just can't help but giggle every time I read that. I mean, I say that title because it is such a good book, but it's such lighthearted, and you're just going to giggle your way through it. It's a very lighthearted comedy book. So if you're just looking for a light summer read, something that's going to make you laugh and giggle and think at the same time, then I cannot recommend Faking Grace by Tamara Leigh highly, highly enough. So really quick, I'm going to read a back blurb of the book, just to kind of give our listeners an idea of what the book is about. And so the blurb states, all she wants is a job. All she needs is religion. How hard can it be? Maisie Grace Stewart dreams of a career as an investigative journalist, but her last job ended in disaster when her compassion cost her employer a juicy headline. A part-time gig at a Nashville newspaper might be her big break. A second job at Steepleside Christian Resources could help pay the bills, but they only hire committed Christians. Maisie is sure she can fake it with her 5-step program to authentic Christian faith. If only Jack Prentice, Steepleside's managing editor and British hottie, wasn't determined to prove her a fraud. When Maisie's newspaper boss pressures her to expose any skeletons in a Steepleside's closet, she must decide whether to deliver the dirt and secure her career or lean on her newfound faith, change the direction in her life, and pray that her colleagues and Jack will show her grace. So that is the back cover blurb from Faking Grace, and it is just the part that pops out to me there is when it says, how hard can it be? Because when you start reading the book, you realize that it can really be hard, because she's not a Christian when she goes in, or not a committed Christian anyway. And she just kind of goes in. She's like, I can fake it. So when I started asking her questions about her Christianity, about her Christian faith, and everything else, she kind of comes up with this 5-step program to authentic Christian faith that is absolutely hilarious to anyone who's a Christian, or whatnot. And so again, if you're looking for a good, lighthearted summer read, I cannot recommend Faking Grace highly enough. What were your thoughts on the book, Sherry?
I have to say, it was so enjoyable. So The mark of a good book for me is one that makes me think afterwards. And while this wasn't a deep thinking book that made me think about spiritual truths necessarily afterwards, it was a book that stayed with me. So I guess maybe that's the way I should have worded it, is the mark of a good book for me is one that stays with me. I was driving down the road, I read it. I had never heard of this book before, Kara. So this was my homework for the last month, was reading some of the books that she was telling me about that I hadn't heard of. And so I had read it, probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I was driving down the road the other day, and all of a sudden I was thinking about one particular scene, and I couldn't remember what book it was because I read all the time, and I'm like, what book was that? What book was that? And I'm like, oh, that's right. That was Faking Grace. And I got a smile on my face again because, like Kara says, it is such a fun, lighthearted book. There are spiritual truths that are in there,
yes.
And these are the ones that spoke to me because right now this is one of the truths that God is speaking to me himself, and that was about not trying to control other people. She has a grandmother that is hilarious who comes out to visit her. And without spoiling anything, she's trying to control her grandmother in this one aspect. And I thought to myself, okay, God, I get it. I am not supposed to control the people in my life. They are full-grown adults. They are able to make their own decisions. That is, those are their choices, not my choices. And it was nice to get that spiritual truth, those nuggets, mixed in with all of the laughter. But it really was. It was a very lighthearted, fun, just enjoyable book. And I don't normally pick up lighthearted, fun, enjoyable books. I don't know why, but I'm more of the deeper side of a person. I like women's fiction. I like suspense. I like ones that just make you really think. But I'll tell you what, I am definitely going to be reading more from this author because it was so good. There is definitely a time and a place for lighthearted, and I think I need to put a little more lighthearted in my life. So thank you, Kara, for exposing me to Faking Grace because it was very, very enjoyable.
It is, and I think it's one of my, because I go through different, because like you, I read a lot, and then there's some times where I'm like, I want something deep, I want to read something, I want fiction, but I want it to be like a deep fiction, deep topic or whatnot, and then there's those times where I'm like, I really don't want to think, I just want to read and enjoy and laugh,
Right.
And so
I think these kind of books are great for, like, cleansing your palate, like getting rid of that, the deep book that you just finished and enjoying some lighthearted spiritual truth still, but lightheartedness before you go into the next deep plunge. I think it's perfect.
It is, and it's definitely one of those. I just, like I said, just Googled through. I don't know why. I just thought the book was just so, I don't know. I thought it's very good. So, but those of you who love lighthearted type comedy, especially during the summer, or something like that, where you're just kind of on the beach or by the pool, people may think you're crazy because they're like, "What is she laughing and smiling at?"
Exactly. This is one of those.
Yeah.
Yep. Perfect choice.
Yeah.
It's a great choice with this one. Loved it.
It is, but like Sherry mentioned, just because something is lighthearted doesn't mean it doesn't have a spiritual truth in it.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that when you finish reading Faking Grace, that you want to, the what you come across with is like, wow, have I ever faked something to like get to achieve something, knowingly and or unknowingly. Now, obviously, Maisie Grace, she knowingly went into this knowing that this place only hired committed Christians, but she was, determined to get in there, and, she was just going to fake her way through it. So she knew it going in. But a lot of times I think we fake things to get things, and we don't necessarily know we're faking it. For instance,
justify the faking. I mean, let's be brutally honest here. Sometimes we justify it or try to justify it.
You're right. Sometimes we try to justify it and say, "Oh, well, I'm, kind of like the end will make it all right," type of things.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times we fake things and we don't even know that we're faking it. Not necessarily on the job. Her case was on the job, but perhaps on the job. Have you ever just been friends with someone or wanted to be friends with someone, but you really didn't like who you were friends with. You really didn't like them as a person, but you wanted to be in their inner circle because they were friends of friends of friends of friends who you wanted to be friends with.
Right.
Per se, but the one that connects them is someone who you really don't care for and you really don't like, but you're just kind of using them, that sounds kind of harsh, but that can be the case, and we don't even realize it. We can fake romantic relationships. We can fake, like Maisie Grace did, on the job. There are a lot of times to where, and like Sherry said, we make excuses for faking it, There are a lot of, do I even want to go here? Okay, I'm going to just do it for 10 seconds. There are a lot of people who I think are doing exactly what Maisie Grace does, and they fake their religion. They're faking being a Christian. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But you want to have a true, authentic Christian faith. There is no need, no matter whether it's for a job, for friends, for a relationship, well, my fiance or my boyfriend or the guy I want to marry or the woman I want to marry is a Christian, so I'm just going to say I'm a Christian. There's no need to do that. There's no need to do that. God accepts everyone with open arms, and so you don't need to fake it. What do you think, Sherry?
Well, and that just goes right back to the book itself, too. And, I mean, the Bible tells us very clearly as well, you reap what you sow. So you're going to be found out one way or the other. Like, you're not going to be able to go down on your grave faking it. You're just not, because
right.
At some point it's going to come out. So I try, I don't say that I do it perfectly, but I try to live very authentically. Like, I am very open on the podcast to explain my weaknesses and where I've fallen short. In fact, sometimes I think I'm a little too open. And I'm a little too forthcoming. Sometimes I think people are like, really, Sherry? I don't need to know that. I don't need to know that you ate a whole bag of Twizzlers the other day. But yeah, I mean, like, authenticity is by far the way that we should always be living our life. And I think that that's what makes this book so fun, is that it pokes fun at a very real biblical truth. And it heightens it and makes it more grandiose so that you can examine your own life. Like, it gives you that opportunity to examine your own life and say, okay, where do I need to be more authentic in my life? Where do I need to be? What area of my life do I need to be more authentic? Because probably everybody, if they were truthful with themselves, there's some area of your life where you're faking it, where you're justifying it, where you're whatever. And authenticity, like, God wants us to be honest. We can come brutally honest to Him. We should be honest with others. Maybe not brutally honest with others, because, like I said, sometimes there's too much information being shared. But yeah, just it was a really good book to just be a really good reminder in a very fun way of the benefits of living your true self.
And I think I don't even realize, I don't think sometimes people realize how that makes you look in other people's eyes. A quick scenario is, I remember one time when and this is when I still worked in an office environment, and this particular office, it was like, I worked with a lot of women at the time, so maybe about 15 women or whatnot. But so you had a lot of different personalities. But it's just, I look at it now and I'm going, oh my, goodness. But it was shocking to me how many times, like, someone would walk in, one of the women would walk into work, and she would have on like a new dress or a new, pretty outfit or something. And, everyone would be like, oh, you look so cute. Oh, that dress is so beautiful. Oh, my goodness, you look gorgeous. And then no sooner has that person has said thank you and walked past, that someone else was turning around and whispering to me, that dress is hideous. Like, did her husband let her walk out the house with that dress, or just because they make it in your size don't mean you should wear it. Just saying really mean things. And it was an eye-opener to me, to where it's like, you can't be trusted.
Right. Right.
Okay? It's like, you can't be trusted because you're this way with them to their face, right? And then soon as they walk past, you're whispering something opposite of what you just said. And so to the person who's listening, you don't realize that they're saying, aha, you just exposed and located yourself. I know that you're not a trustworthy person, that you're not authentic.
Absolutely.
That you say one thing and believe another. And I know people are going, Kara, you're overreacting. People just say stuff like that all the time. She probably was joking, which is true. Maybe she was joking. But it's not, to me, I try, and heaven knows I am not absolutely the best at this. But I try not to say anything behind, if they're not there, that I wouldn't say while they were in the room.
Agreed.
I try. That was kind of like something that kind of opened my eyes to that, to say, you know what, I don't want my conversation to ever be something to where if I'm saying something and they're not in the room, that if for some reason it got back to them or if they were in the room, I would be uncomfortable saying it.
Agreed.
And it goes back to what Sherry was saying earlier about trying our best to be our authentic selves. And so that's another thing that a lot of people don't even know that they're faking it, but you are, like in general conversation. And if you're just like, you're saying one thing and then they walk past and you say another, or, just in church, in the office, or just in any type of social environment, you're faking it, because that person you're telling them one thing and they're like, oh, she really liked my dress, and everything else, when in reality you hated it.
Exactly.
There's no harm in just, one, not commenting, or two, unless they ask your opinion, don't say anything.
Right.
If you can't be authentic, and honest, and like Sherry said, do it with love.
Absolutely.
Once you get to know the person and their personality, you'll find out if you can just be like, oh, the dress is cute, but I just don't think it's flattering on you. You'll be able to know if you'll be able to get away with something like that with them, once you get to know the person or whatnot. But again, so I just want to, like she said, just because something is lighthearted doesn't mean that, it doesn't have some deep spiritual truths in there. But Faking Grace is definitely one of those books that definitely make you think about, am I faking something? Like, am I really truly being my authentic self? Or am I just pretending to be authentic? Right? So but again, that's Faking Grace by Tamara Lee. And if you're looking for a good, lighthearted summer read, very friendly, very clean read, with a little bit of sweet romance thrown in, then that is definitely the book for you. Another one we want to talk about is kind of along the same genre. It is I can't say kind of, it is very, very lighthearted. It is definitely going to make you giggle or laugh, okay? I don't know about Sherry when she read the book, but for some reason this particular book just made me laugh, like out loud. I'll be, it's one of those books you're reading and your husband stick your head in and go like, are you okay? What's going on? And you're just laughing, at the insanity of the situations and, the things that the characters kind of find themselves and get into. And the name of this particular book is Scoop, S-C-O-O-P, Scoop. And it is actually book 3 in a series. I've read the entire series, but wow, it was hard. It was hard. But out of the 3, book 3, Scoop was my favorite. The name of the series is the Occupational Hazards series. That's the name of the series. It's called the Occupational Hazards. It's 3-book series. The book 1, I believe, is Snitch. Book 2 is Skid, and book 3 is Scoop. So it's called Snitch. The names of the books are Snitch, Skid, and Scoop. And they are by author Renee Gutteridge. And her first name is spelled R-E-N-E, and her last name is Gutteridge, Gutteridge. Oh, my goodness. Wow. Again, she is another author like Tamara Lee that writes in different genres. She writes really deep spiritual fictional type stuff, and then she writes very lighthearted type books as well. And she's been an author for a very, very long time and everything. But this just happens to be one of her more lighthearted series. And I am just going to read the back cover blurb on this one really quickly. And it says, Channel 7 news producer Hugo Talley dreams of working with first-class professionals. Instead, he's saddled with a weatherman who can't admit when he's wrong, an aging anchorwoman who refuses to release her claw-like grip on the news desk, a conscience-stricken reporter who's reluctant to focus on sensationalism, and a new assistant, former homeschool student Hayden Hazard, who can't just seem to leave her faith outside the newsroom. When the Channel News 7 team inadvertently stumbles on a hot news story, Hugo is frantic to exploit this rare opportunity. But a series of crises, including a Botox disaster and the disappearance of a colleague, threatens to destroy his chance for ratings success and send him completely over the edge. Meanwhile, Hayden's presence is distracting at least two coworkers. Soft-spoken reporter Ray Duffy isn't sure whether he's attracted or frightened by her outspoken faith, while ego-driven Sam Leach is certain her naive spiritual convictions will fall victim to his persuasive attentions. With their oddball antics and all too real foibles, this lovable cast of characters offers a hilarious look at the sometimes unexpected effects of taking one's faith boldly into the workplace. And that is the end of the blurb. And this just goes so well with the book Faking Grace that we were talking about earlier, to where Maisie Grace kind of faked her way to get into the job. Here, Hayden Hazard, she just boldly goes in with her faith. It's just like, yeah, I'm a Christian, and everything else. She just boldly goes into it with her. So it's kind of like the opposite of the Faking Grace series, but they both deal with faith in the workplace. How did you like Scoop, Sherry?
I really liked it. It starts out kind of telling us a little bit about Hayden's family, the background of it. And I wasn't really sure at the beginning how that all fit in, but I'm so glad that the author started that way, because it just tied the other parts of the story in so nicely. And while I really liked Hayden and I really liked the cast of characters at the news station, I think my favorite character in the whole book was Mac, her sister.
Oh.
I loved how she just came in. I don't know, I don't want to call her a breath of fresh air, because Hayden was the breath of fresh air, but I don't know, there was just something about Mac that I just really loved. She took a great story and she just kind of gave it that extra pizzazz. So yeah, I really, really liked it. I hadn't read anything by Renee earlier than this, and I'm so glad that you introduced me to yet another fantastic author.
Yes, and she's, like I said, it's one of those, it's like I said, I read all three books in this series, and I recommend all three. But, yeah, out of the three, I think Scoop was, one of my favorites. Actually, all of them are good, Snitch, Skid, and Scoop. And so it's just really one of those books, very lighthearted, very easy, very, light summer read, especially for those of you that like lighthearted comedy. Again, with some deep spiritual truths in there, too, and
spiritual truth with Hugo and his family. Oh, my goodness. And then also I don't want to get it wrong, but was it Ron? Was Ron the one that was the friend of Hayden, the investigative reporter?
Oh, I'm not sure, but I think it was. I think it was, but go ahead.
But you're right. There were so many good spiritual truths just woven in there. And they didn't hit you over the head. They were just kind of like a nice, soft ocean wave that kind of got you thinking, and then kind of let you take that conversation with God himself. And on your recommendation, I bought Skid and Snitch also. So I can't wait. I haven't read them yet, but I can't wait to read them. They're definitely on my list for this summer.
Oh, yeah, and take them. And that's the great thing about lighthearted reads, because you can take them when you're traveling, when you're whether you're flying, driving, on a boat, or something like that, and you just want to enjoy your vacation, so you don't really want to take something along that's like a really deep read, or whatnot. You want something, more lighthearted. These are just some of those books that you can just take with you and, just make the trip even that much more enjoyable. Because you'll just be laughing, giggling, and, kind of, with some deep spiritual truths, woven in. And one of the things here in this book is, how do we deal with our faith in the workplace? When you start a new job, do you go in bold? Do you say, here I am, I'm a Christian, and before I leave here, everyone I work with is going to be a Christian? So it's like, do you go in and you see it as a mission field and you evangelize every coworker, supervisor, manager in sight? Is that how you approach it when you're going in on a job? Or are you kind of neutral, and you're just kind of there and say, okay, you just don't let anybody know you're a Christian unless they ask, unless the conversation comes in, up, and then you say, oh, yeah, well, I'm a Christian, so I believe this way or that way, or, oh, yeah, I'm a Christian too. What church do you go to? And you're just kind of just in the middle, and if it comes up, you don't back down from it, but you just kind of not so bold with it. Or are you I was going to say low-key, but it's really no-key, to where you don't mention it at all. Nothing. Your people bring it up, you don't say anything. They talk about church, you still don't say anything, and you just don't mention it at all. And so it's kind of one of those things, like, when you're in a workplace, like, which one are you? Which one are you going to be? And it has to be one that comes naturally to you, And I guess also depends on the work environment, right?
Right.
Because I guess there are a lot of them that won't allow, well, I can't say they can't allow it, right? But, well, let's just say you could probably be reprimanded for it if people start complaining, right?
Yep.
Yeah, because I know that there are people, they will wear hats, Jesus is King, they have on the shirts that with a cross on them, and they're wearing the wristbands and and the book bags and the purses, and all those things. And, I may resemble that type of person. I'm not sure. I'm not going to say anything. And they kind of go into, if that type of thing is, allowed or whatnot, and they're just kind of like that. And, so they kind of go boldly into the workplace, kind of see it as a mission field and everything else. And you could just go into it, neutral. And I think it just kind of goes with your personality. Also with the temperament of the job and the temperament of the people. If you go in too boldly, obviously you're going to get some kickback, right? And people are like, I came here to work. Is this church? Like, I didn't come here for this. Or I don't believe in God, and I don't appreciate you wearing that shirt. I don't appreciate you singing hymns to yourself. I don't appreciate, any of that. A lot of people feel intimidated or threatened, or they just don't like it. So it's like you really have to find yourself in a workplace, and that's, your faith, like in your particular workplace. And that's it pretty much what Hayden Hazard had to do. Again, it's called the Occupational Hazard Series, based on like the Hazard family. And that's what Hayden Hazard, has to deal with. Like when you go on a job or in a work environment, whether it's an office or whether you work for yourself, how do you relate to your clients? So again, it's a lighthearted comedy, but it deals with a lot of like serious issues that kind of make you think, like, how am I presenting myself or my faith on my job, or am I presenting it at all? Do people know I'm a Christian? And if they do, why do they know I'm a Christian? Or if they don't, why don't they know I'm a Christian? So Sherry, before we wrap this up, you want to add any thoughts on those two books?
Well, that just fits so well with the Faking Grace, where we were talking about authenticity. So whether we meant to or not today, I kind of think the topic of our podcast today is authenticity. How authentic are you with your job, in your job, with your relationships, at church? Are you the same person at church as you are at Meijer? And I will be the first to, I was going to say I don't yell at my kids at church like I yell at them at Meijer, but that's not entirely true. I've been known to yell at my kids across the board. So So if they need it, I yell at them at church. If they need it, I yell at them at Meyer. But yeah, so how authentic are you? Like maybe that's a question. There we go. I'm going to challenge the listeners today, and I'm going to challenge myself too. So, Kara, I'll challenge you as well. But maybe today or tomorrow we should sit down and just get quiet and have a conversation with our Heavenly Father and just say, God, is there an area in my life that I need to be more authentic? Is there an area in my life where I've hidden you without meaning to, that I've not allowed you to shine the way that I want you to in every area of my life? And like Kara said, you know, we don't have to be overbearing, because that can be just as sinful and just as bad. Because I remember we had a guest speaker one time at my church, and he made such a great statement that it has stuck with me for years. And basically, if a person is not ready to hear about God, hitting them over the head with a sledgehammer with your Bible is not going to make them ready to hear about God. Only the Holy Spirit convicts. Only the Holy Spirit can change a person's heart. It's our job, yes, to plant the seeds, but we need to be mindful of the Holy Spirit, of how to plant the seeds. Do you dump the whole thing down and just hope that one or two stick, or do you just sprinkle it lovingly and make sure that there's enough sunshine and rain? Like, those are the kind of conversations we should be having with God. How authentic am I? Where are areas in my life that I need to be more authentic? And God, what is one thing that you want me to do to change that, to make it so that people see you instead of me? I'm doing it the way that you want me to do it instead of the way that I think I have to do it. Because I know for myself, a lot of my overreactions or overbearing actions or things like that come out of a place of fear. If I don't say this, then they won't become a Christian. If I don't say this, if I don't witness, if I don't live that perfect life, if I don't do this and I don't do that, then I'm going to blow their chances of going to heaven. Well, you know what? We don't have that kind of power. The Holy Spirit convicts. It's our job to live a life to where people can see God through us, but it is not our job to make the choices for other people. So, one, that takes a lot of burden off of us. But two, it then goes back to that challenge of, God, where do I need to be more authentic in my life, and show me one way that I can make that change. So that is my challenge for us today. I'm so excited. We get to come back next week, and we're going to talk about another deeper book. But I really, truly loved this break in the middle, this lightheartedness, and it's perfect for summer. And you know what? If you type in to like Amazon or Barnes & Noble or ChristianBooks.com, if you type into the space bar like sweet Christian romance or things like that, a lot of these books will pop up. I know Alana Terry, she has a sweet Christian romance series. The first one is Dare to Dream Again, and then it's What Dreams May Come, What Dreams May Lie, What Dreams May Die, What Dreams May Fall. That's a fantastic sweet romance series that weaves in spiritual truths. And then Sweet Promise Press, if you look them up on either Google or DuckDuckGo, they have a ton of books that are all sweet Christian clean romance. They have like animal ones, they have wedding ones, they have older historical clean fiction ones, all kinds. So if we've whetted your appetite today on nice, lighthearted, like romantic Christian fiction, then there's a ton out there. So I named off a few more, and then just go ahead and just look them up and see which ones become your favorites. And then tell us about it. You can either email us at cheeruppodcast@gmail.com and tell us that way, or you can head over to the Facebook group and tell everybody, because I don't know about you, but I love hearing about new authors and getting new authors to read. So the more the merrier. Like whatever suggestions you bring in, I would love to read them. Do you need prayer? Do you need encouragement? Do you just need somebody to talk to, a friend? Again, email us at cheeruppodcast@gmail.com or talk to us on the Facebook group, Cheer Up Podcast. head over to Kara's website, KaraRHunt.com, or my website, SherrySwalwell.com, and you can find out the latest things about us as well. Maybe you want to know about that relationship with God, how to do it, what the first step is. We have information on both of our websites, or you can email us personally. We love being here with you guys every week. We love our Wednesdays. We love having a chance to share with you and encourage you. And it all boils back down to John 16:33. These things I have spoken to you, that in me you may have peace. In the world you will have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. Really, when it all boils down to it, God is the answer. Jesus is the answer. And the only way for people to find that is for us to be authentic, for us to let them see how God has changed our lives and how God has made our lives better, despite the trauma and the tribulation and the problems that come up because we live in a sinful world. It's our job and it's our privilege to get to point people back to God, to point people back to Jesus, the one and only way that we can have that peace in a world that is pretty chaotic at times. So we will be talking about the book Deadline next week. So if you want to have some homework over the week, go pick up the book Deadline, and you can read it beforehand. Then you'll know what we're talking about. So from Kara and I, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next Wednesday. Bye-bye.